Whether you're brand new to homeschooling or you've been at it for a little while, the honest truth is that there is a lot to learn. While there are many great resources out there about what to do, in this video I'm going to share with you about 8 great homeschool mistakes that you just don't want to do. But before we get started, if you happen to find that these help you, then I'd venture to guess that they would probably also help the other mamas in your homeschool tribe. So feel free to share this video and make sure you subscribe if you haven't yet. Number 1, don't recreate public school at home. While you do need to check out and adhere to your country or your state's requirements, the ultimate goal of homeschooling is not necessarily to recreate the institutionalized public education system in your home. I mean, you could if you really want to, but isn't there a reason that you left that? Which brings me to number 2. Don't start with curriculum. One of the biggest mistakes I see homeschool mamas making is asking, what curriculum do I start with? This is an important question, but it's not actually the best first question. It's kind of like putting the cart before the horse. So think about it. If I would go to Home Depot and I would buy a whole bunch of building supplies and I would come home and start creating something, but I don't have instructions or an architectural plan in place, I might end up constructing something that I originally didn't want. So first you need to have a vision in place and then a philosophy in place. And to do that, I'm going to highly recommend you check out these 2 books. The first is For the Children's Sake by Susan Schaefer, and the second is Educating the Wholehearted Child by Clay and Sally Clarkson. Now these 2 resources will help you develop vision and philosophy, and from there you can then determine your homeschool styles. Did you actually know that there are 5 different main styles of homeschooling, and you can choose which kind you want to do? Traditional. This style is the closest to a modern public school setting, focusing on a structured subject-by-subject education in a grade-by-grade format. The emphasis is on textbooks and workbooks with quizzes and tests, literature and writing and science materials partnered with supporting activities. A large amount of the schoolwork is sit-down instruction with a lot of reading and writing. While some people feel very comfortable just staying with the style, the honest truth is you don't have to. In fact, there are other options that might better fit with your child's learning style and with your teaching style. Let's check them out. Classical. This style originated in ancient Greece and focuses on critical thinking and communication. There's a heavy emphasis on memorization, logic, and the use of language, including the use of Latin. Charlotte Mason. This style was founded by a British educator who believed children are highly intelligent persons capable of learning through ideas and the connection of those ideas through the science of relations. The emphasis is on habit training, nature study, hands-on activity, living literature, and the arts. Unit studies. This style delves into studying multiple different subjects by focusing on a specific theme. It emphasizes hands-on learning and context-based relationships with the material, inviting a deep dive into the topic where a student can build meaningful and memorable relationships with what they are studying. Unschooling. Not to be confused with not schooling, unschooling allows the child to choose what he or she would like to learn. It emphasizes a self-directed education, cultivating the curiosity of the child and teaching them to pursue the love of learning on their own. For a more comprehensive overview and to take a free assessment that will help you determine your primary and your secondary styles, check out this video. I'm going to put a link into the description. But once you determine your primary and your secondary styles, guess what? It greatly narrows the wide world of curriculum. Number 3, don't assume there's one right way to homeschool. Remember that one of the beautiful things about homeschooling is that you get to customize your child's education. And that means that although you have these wonderful styles, you may need to use different curriculum for different children. So you might have a right brain learner who's very creative and needs color and picture, and then you have a left brain learner who's very analytical and needs just black and white questions and answers. They may need different options for learning, right? And so you can merge together a lot of your subjects, maybe science or history, but when it comes to things like math or language arts, keep in mind not just being married to that style that maybe is your primary or secondary, but also considering your children and their learning styles. One child is not going to be like the other child, but it's not a lack of intelligence, it's just that God made them to learn and to actually express their learning differently. So this actually translates over to co-ops, because just like your children have different skills and abilities, like one might be really gifted in sports and another one really gifted in music, right? Different co-ops work for different children. And so although your friend may have a really great co-op and they just love it and they really want you to join, I would come back to 3 questions to determine if that's a wise move for you or not. The first is, what is best for my family in the season that we're in? The second is, what is best for me as the educator, the mom, because I have a lot going on, a lot to manage, right? And third, what really is best for my child? Don't assume that just because a co-op is working for a friend that it's going to work for you, or that that co-op is going to indefinitely work for the whole time of your homeschool journey. Let's go on to number 4. Don't do it all at once. Did you know you don't actually have to fit every subject into every day of homeschool, Monday through Friday, 9 to 3 o'clock? No. Think about it for a second. You are homeschooling, which means that you have a lot of other things going on in your life. You are doing laundry, you are doing dishes and cleaning, you are hosting people, you are taking care of a baby or maybe even a toddler. Oh my goodness, that's a big one, right? You know. You've got field trips, you've got lessons like guitar lessons, you've got, excursions, you've got play dates, you've got like all the responsibilities of doing bills and things around the house. There is a lot going on in your family rhythm. So to pack everything in all at once, it might actually set you up for feeling like you're failing. Like you're just not getting to it all. How do you get to it all, right? So think about this. Play with rhythms and block planning. And I would highly, highly recommend that you talk to your husband about what his expectations are and the rhythms he would like to see within your home. So for example, you could do science 1 day a week if you have younger ones, right? You could do history during the summer and maybe social studies during the summer, and then save that. So now that just opened up a large block of time for you to do other primary subjects during the school year. There are so many ways to think through this, and there's wonderful resources, but the biggest thing to take away is that you don't have to cram it all in. Number 5, don't limit education to completed curriculum. Education is not just about completing your workbooks. As Charlotte Mason stated, it is an atmosphere, a discipline, and a life. It is an expanded environment where your child learns to thrive through multiple experiences like tea times and read alouds and chores and life skills and experiences. What about handicrafts and projects or even practical habit training? So as you develop this beautiful environment of learning, it's not limited to a desk and a pencil and a workbook test that you have to complete. No. It is a lifestyle where the child builds wonder and delight and excitement about learning because it is holistic and it is real life and it's practical to real life. So what a joy to think outside the curriculum, to then consider education a lifestyle. Number 6, don't limit homeschooling to one room. Sure, you can have a homeschool space where you host educational supplies and you have a whiteboard or a chalkboard, but I want to encourage you to think about your whole home as an environment for learning. So think about it. Do you have a reading nook? What about a strategic play area? Do you have a toolbox for your kids or a craft space that they can enjoy, whether it's inside or outside? What about a science project observation area? Or maybe even thinking, hey, the broom closet or the kitchen are great environments for learning. So I have seen, to be honest, so many mamas create these glowing and beautiful homeschool spaces in their home, like actual rooms devoted just to homeschool. And then their children end up at the kitchen table because mom's in the kitchen making yet another meal or yet another snack. And the majority of homeschool work in way of coursework is done right there at the kitchen table. So just want to throw out the concept that your children will probably, one, follow you around everywhere you go as a mama, especially when you're younger, and two, that they don't want to be stuck in a desk as much as you don't want to be stuck at a desk for 6 hours a day, right? Create different stations or areas within your home to invite them to learn out of. Number 7, don't just lesson plan, lesson record. So I'm going to have you think a little outside the box on this one because it's very easy for us to pre-plan our schooling, but I want to encourage you to consider recording not only the workbook work that your child has completed, but also all the practical things we just talked about that are real learning too. So life skills that they're developing, you've got the lessons maybe that they're learning in way of like, I'm not just talking music lessons or activity lessons, but actual like life lessons that they're learning and developing. Things like chores that they're doing. You've got outside time, maybe work, like working with the toolbox or handicrafts, right? Any of these practicals, I record, and it helps me in 2 ways. One, it just lets me show my evaluator at the end of the year when I have to do evaluation, all the various learning that my child's getting beyond just the workbooks. I include the workbooks, but I don't limit it to that. And 2, it helps me as a mom see all the ways that my child is learning over time. So it's really fantastic because sometimes we have this bent that we just really feel like maybe we're failing, or we have this insecurity, my child's not learning enough. But when you start writing down and thinking about at the end of the day all the ways that your child has learned and is developing, you might be really, really encouraged to know you're doing a great job. And finally, number 8, don't do it all yourself. Well, if you've made it this far, then I pray and hope that this has been a great blessing to you. And I'm going to give you this last point as a gift. Mama, you don't need to do everything yourself. That feels good, doesn't it? So here's the deal. God has given you special strengths and gifts and abilities, and He wants you to pour those into your family and your children with great intentionality. But all of us have areas of weakness, or we have areas that we just don't have the capacity or energy for because of the stage of life we're in. And so you can outsource that. And that's 100% okay, because what you're doing is you're giving your best to your family, and then you're offering your children the gift of being able to learn from someone else another area. That's not a failure for you as a mother that's homeschooling. It just simply means that you're using your resources wisely, right? And you're using your energy wisely, and that's great. So know this, that there's not one way to do homeschooling. There is not one right way. Not one family has it perfectly figured out. Everyone is on the journey, including you. And instead of feeling this comparison trap or a fear of judgment or failure because I'm outsourcing, or I don't have this area figured out completely, or I'm not very strong in this one subject, guess what? You're showing that you are secure enough in the giftings and abilities that God has given you to pour those well into your family, and give yourself the margin to do well at all things mothering, homemaking, being a wife, being involved in the whole educational process. So there you have it. 8 great homeschool mistakes not to make. But I'm going to throw in a bonus one for you since you stayed this long. The next time you see a mama who's homeschooling or considering homeschool, make sure you don't judge her. Instead, invite her to join you on the learning process, because it's important not to mom it alone. I pray and hope that this has been a support to you. Thanks for joining me. See you soon.